I think at the end of the call, we would also have a Q&A session where people can ask their questions as we go along. So just a quick reminder, this is supposed to be a practical session, I think. I'm not going to give a lecture. Let's try and participate in areas that we have to participate. But like I said, make sure you just put in your questions as and when we move forward. So quickly, this is something that I saw maybe in relation to what is proposed to be discussed. And this is a write-up that was done by Dr. Mate Kole, who is the owner of McDan Shipping, McDan Shipping Company. And he basically talks about, building wealth. And a lot of the conversations that have been happening, especially if you are on social media, you realize that a lot of the finance conversations are around people finding practical ways to invest, right? It's not just that people don't want to invest or they don't know what to do. A lot of people don't know where to start from, especially if they didn't have the knowledge. And so he is basically talking about the fact that you may have been working for a long time. You may, have some skills, some knowledge. You're doing something with your life. But people realized at some point that they've been doing all of these things and they basically don't have any savings. They basically don't have any, assets down for them. And so he talks about the fact that you should be intentional. And we are going to talk about intentionality within our presentation at some point. But the whole concept around building wealth is something that he said at the bottom of his presentation, where he says that don't leave things to chance. And this is something that a lot of people do, leave things to chance and think that everything will work out some way, somehow. But with finances, if you don't really build that financial discipline and you are not very intentional, you're going to end up with nothing, even though you've been working and working and working. So we have about 4 topics that we want to talk through. I would talk about the theory of life, building wealth, and then investing. And then Dr. Boadi will come in with the retirement and its concepts. And then we'll conclude there. So as accountants, I'm sure most of us did economics and some social studies. So we've all heard about a guy called Maslow. And what Maslow basically did was he was a psychologist and he was, a behavioral person who looked at life and said, so in this life, what are we really looking for? What are we really doing? And what are some of the things that we can look at to build our lives? And he built this pyramid. And you can see that the pyramid has about 6 or 7 things in there. So you see that Maslow talks about the fact that at the basic, everybody has some physiological needs. And our physiological needs are around the normal daily things like having food to eat, having somewhere to stay, having clothes to wear. We have safety needs where we are talking about family. And you can see that within the safety needs, you even see the dollar sign or somebody holding money, because you realize that money makes us feel safe. Money makes you feel a certain level of certainty in life to know that at least what I'll eat and what I'll drink, having somewhere to stay, having some security around you. Maslow also talks about belonging and love needs, esteem needs, cognitive needs, and then self-actualization, which is actually the be-all and do-all. And for most people, sometimes it is difficult to find where you situate yourself. But I want everybody on the call to think through this thing, right? Looking at this Maslow's theory of needs, where do you think you are currently? And I mean, this is something that you are doing as a self-assessment, but I want to move on to the next application of the Maslow's theory of needs. So you see that Maslow's theory of needs has now been broken down into finances. And you realize that one of the reasons why we do that is that when you look at Maslow's theory of needs, you also begin to realize that everything Maslow said is all about the money, right? So right from the lower levels, when you are doing an assessment to say, yeah, Maslow is saying that we need some physiological needs, you realize that in terms of finances, some people don't know how to place it. And so this particular level structure shows us where to place our finances. Now, I want everybody to think, we're going to use the next 5 minutes to do something. I want everybody to type in the chat box, right? At level 1, just do a quick assessment of yourself. Do you think you are earning enough income to meet your monthly obligations? That's the first question. So for all the 3 things at level 1, if you have it, just type yes to level 1 in the chat box. So are you earning enough income to meet your monthly obligations currently, or you think that what you are earning is not enough and you need more. So if any of the answers is no, just write no to level 1. I just want to see as many responses as possible. Currently, have you purchased life insurance, right? Whether your company has given you life insurance or whether you yourself has a life insurance policy. So if your answer is yes as well, you can answer yes. And have you established an emergency fund? And we'll talk through what an emergency fund is quickly when we move up. So level 2. Okay, I can see a few answers in the chat box. I'm seeing quite a number of yes, quite a number of no. It's fine. Okay. Level 2. So have you thought about increasing your income as well? How many of us in this particular year, let's say 2025, have thought about you need to increase your income? How many of you have thought about purchasing life insurance or disability insurance? And then how many of us also have debt? In fact, on the debt question, I really want us to think through very well. And it's not just debt to the bank. Are you actually currently owing anybody? And how many of us have actually begun our retirement savings? And again, because Dr. Boadi will handle retirement savings, I will not talk too much about it. But I want anybody on the call to say, have you started retirement savings apart from your normal SNIT and apart from your normal tier 1, tier 2, tier 3? Has anybody started a different retirement savings? Okay, I see some answers to level 2 as well. Okay. So we'll quickly rush to level 3, buying a home. How many of us have bought our own homes or have built our own homes? Particular question. If you've built your own home, just write yes to home. If you've not built or bought your own home, just write no to home. Okay, I see answers coming in. Interesting. And then providing for your children, increasing retirement. So you get the drift, right? This particular pyramid basically helps you to do an assessment to say that as an individual, whether I've been working for 5 years, whether I've been working for 2 years or 1 year, all of that, what level am I in and how am I assessing myself according to these levels? And the reason why we say this is the theory of life is because you see, when you think about life in general, a lot of people talk about purpose. And again, if you are religious or whatever it is that you believe in, you realize that most of us are looking for what it is that we are here to do. But at the same time that you're looking for purpose and you're looking for direction, you also realize that, first of all, you need to live your life. And a lot of the life that we need to live is basically around this Maslow theory of needs and this pyramid. If you look at the last part, which is level 5, you will see that it talks about the fact that by the time you probably get to self-actualization, then it means that you'll be retiring, you'll be fulfilling your dreams, you'll be donating your money, planning your legacy. But let me say quickly, even before we get to retirement, is that some people are already fulfilling their dreams way before they get to retirement. And it is because of the fact that either they themselves have enough financial resources or somebody planned their financial resources for them. So just keep that in mind, because we'll have a very short conversation as we move along also on planning for your children's future. And it is not necessarily just paying their fees or buying their needs, but what exactly are you doing in terms of financial assets that you are building up for your children? So we'll go to the next topic, which is the building wealth. Now, here we just want to touch on a few points, right? Now, after you have done the assessment of yourself and you're looking at, okay, am I in level 1? Am I in level 2? Am I in level 3? And please give me a second. Am I in level 1, level 2, level 3, right? Now, if you decide, if you are able to finally find out, say, I am in level 1, what can I do practically to scale up to level 2 or to level 3? And that is where a lot of the questions come in terms of, I want to build wealth. What am I supposed to do? The first considerations that we're going to look at is on the left side, which is what I have labeled as individual considerations. And then you also look at the other considerations. So anybody that is on the call, and I can see that there are 65 people on the call. The first thing you want to interrogate yourself is what is my mindset about money? Okay. Now, yesterday within my group, we saw a post on Facebook, and I shared this on my group, and I said someone should explain it to me, because somebody is saying money is a spirit and you have to summon money and you don't have to think too much about money. And I said someone should explain it to me. Does it mean that I can just sit in my house and do nothing and then summon money and money will come? Or I'll summon wealth and wealth will come, right? So your mindset about money says a lot. And this is in many different directions. First of all, the way money is introduced to you from where you grew up from. So in terms of your core family, let's say your nuclear family, how did your parents talk to you about money? How did your parents treat money? How did your parents handle money? Did you see your parents have some sort of financial anxiety, or you saw that your parents could provide everything it is for you? And within these questions, I also want you to be thinking about your children, because your children see how you handle money. Your children see how stressed you are because of money. Your children see how much you have to squeeze yourself. Or your children also see that you have what we call financial ease, where financial ease is talking about the fact that you as a family, whether you are a mom, whether you're a dad, or an auntie or an uncle, or whatever it is you are within the family, are you able to provide all of your personal needs, all of your family needs, without feeling stressed out and anxious, right? So your mindset around money does a lot. And again, a lot of these mindsets, apart from our nuclear family, some of these mindsets also come from religion. There are religions who basically teach people that poverty is what will make you go to heaven. And so some people don't accept a good life, or they don't accept luxury. So depending on whatever your mindset is, whether it is coming from the religious angle, the community angle, your nuclear family angle, wherever it is coming from, first of all, you need to query it and understand that in accepting money, or in understanding building wealth, what does wealth mean to you? And so I'm going to ask this question at this point. I want everybody to type in the call. When I ask you, what does being rich mean to you? How much money do you think about? And I want you to type just a figure. So whether it is 5,000, 50,000, 100,000, and type the currency too. When someone asks you, what does being rich mean to you? How much money do you think somebody has practically? I think I'll give that a minute just to see the answers in the chat box. Okay, someone says $100 million. Wow. Okay. I'm trying to see more answers. So to someone, having $100 million is enough money, or that's when he will call himself rich. I'm waiting for other responses. All the others in the call, what does being rich mean to you? Okay, someone says $1 million. I see quite a lot of $1 million. Okay, 200 million pounds. Okay. Hey, nobody's mentioning CD. Okay. I'll give it a few more seconds. What does being rich mean to you, and how much money do you think you should have to call yourself? Okay, someone also says 200 million. Now, again, this is to address the question of mindset. Any amount of money that anybody thought of, okay, somebody says 5 million, 1 million pounds. Someone says being rich is gaining financial freedom. Okay. And the last answer is the exact reason why, when you want to build wealth, someone says 900 trillion pounds. Okay. But the exact question of mindset is why we ask this question, because you see, building wealth should be different for everybody. And you should also query yourself. When you tell yourself that I have to have this amount of money to be called rich, or to deem myself rich, what is the reason why? Do you really need that amount of money to be called rich, right? Because again, if we quickly go back to the Maslow's theory of needs, and you should be even at the level 5, do you really need $900 million to even at level 5? Do you really need that? And also, again, in terms of mindset, when you assess yourself, okay, and you assess you as an individual, what you do for a living currently, or where you are in life currently, do you even have the potential to be able to make that amount of money? So that should lead us into your next question of goal setting. Everybody needs to set an individual goal. And for some people, it is to set a goal of, someone says 900 trillion. Now, in setting your goal of 900 trillion, do you think that your goal of 900 trillion, if we are using the scale of goals should be SMART, where we say goals should be specific, measurable, realistic, achievable, and all of that, do you think 900 million trillion, or the amount you are mentioning, is even realistic in the first place? And you should also consider, at whatever age you are now, do you even have the potential to make that amount of money? So you should set your financial goals in a way that are very realistic, right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't challenge yourself. If you've been working for the past 10 years I always tell people that I make the assumption that if you've been working for the past 10 years, you should have at least 100,000 cedis in financial assets. Let's say you've purchased just T-bill. If you've been working for the past 10 years, you should have a minimum of 100,000 cedis. And I know there are people on the call who have been working for 10 years who do not have that amount, and that's fine. But like I'm saying, there is some intentionality that you should have, that at this age or at this point in my life, I'm supposed to have this. It doesn't mean that you need that amount of money to be happy or to be called rich, but it is a goal you're setting for yourself based on the kind of lifestyle you want to live, or based on the kind of things you are looking forward to in life, or based on the type of family you have, based on the responsibilities that you have, the direction that you want to go to. So we'll think of goals. We'll discuss the goals in a few minutes, but just think of it. When you want to build wealth, you need to understand how to set your goals. You also need to understand budgeting, right? Now, budgeting has to do with understanding your expenses and understanding your incomes. And one financial guru in the US said, budgeting is telling your money where to go instead of asking yourself, where did my money go to? Okay, so at every point in time, you want to understand how to budget. There are various forms of budgeting. There's a lot of information on the internet, but I always say that if you want to use the simplest rule in budgeting, normally they say allocate 50% to your needs, allocate 30% to your wants, and allocate 20% to your savings and your investments for the future. But there are so many other different ways of budgeting. You just need to understand what your personal priorities are before you go and start into budgeting. So you need to understand budgeting and how to do it, and especially based on your income. There are 71 people on the call. All of us don't have the same income. Actually, 73. All of us don't have the same income. All of us don't work the same jobs. I work as a chartered accountant. My husband is a medical doctor. I have lawyers in my family. I have people my mom is a businesswoman in the market. My dad runs a licensed chemical shop. So all of us are doing different things. So there is no way that our budgets will probably look the same. So you need to figure out, what can my budget look like to be able to benefit me in a way. Then you also want to understand what we call risk appetite. Okay. Now, again, all the 73 people on the call, we are all different people, different personalities. I'm sure a lot of us have heard of the personality types where they divide people into sanguine, melancholic, and all of those things. And apart from that, we all grew up from different environments. We've lived in different countries. We've lived in different towns, different places. You realize that everybody approaches risk in a different way. It's like sometimes we've seen a few videos of people going to, let's say, military training, right? There are parts of the military training and fire training where they actually make you walk through the fire. And some people may immediately say, I don't want to do this, or I'm not going to do this. Probably because they have some superstitious beliefs that if I pass through the fire, my family members will kill me or whatever. And there are people who will just run through it thinking about nothing. You realize that even in terms of the environment you grew in, if you pick a Ghanaian child who is around 14, 15 years old, and if you pick an American child or a child in the UK or whatever, and you ask them to talk to you about their future plans, you realize that even sometimes the kind of risks that some of these children who don't grow up in Ghana want to take is not the same as what the Ghanaian children want to take. And again, if you even talking about, financial literacy for your children, a lot of parents on the call would want their children to go into very traditional careers. So they want you to become a CA, or they want you to become a doctor or a lawyer, but when you talk to some of these foreign parents, they talk about how they want their kids to be footballers and YouTube stars and content creators, and all those things are very, very risky. So you need to understand yourself. What is my risk appetite? What type of risk am I willing to take? We're here in Ghana when people went to invest in men's gold without any proper assessment of their risk appetite. And then we all saw the outcome of all of those issues that came. So understanding what your risk appetite is and doing a personal assessment of your risk appetite is one of the ways to build wealth and understand it very well. The last thing that I want to talk about under the individual consideration is to consider your personal circle. Okay. Now, all of us, like I said, grew up in different places, went to different schools, in terms of JHS, SHS, all of us went to different schools. You realize that even sometimes, depending on the type of SHS you went to, the kind of ambitions people have around you is very different. So you need to understand your personal circle when you want to understand wealth. Whether it is social circle, where even the conversations you have are bothered on certain things. There are people whose conversations with their friends are always about gossiping about others, talking about other people's matters. And you will find that in certain social circles, the conversations are always around how do we build wealth? How can we make moves? What can we sell? What are the opportunities that we are looking at? And it's not around superstitious things, starting something, someone will pull you down, or the crab in the bucket kind of mentality. You always need to do an audit of the people in your personal circle. If the people in your personal circle are not wealth-minded, are not vision-minded, are not futuristic thinking, you may end up not doing nothing for yourself in terms of building wealth. So you need to do this individual consideration. There are other considerations, but let's just use these ones because we have a time limit for our calls. Now, the other considerations you also want to make is what we call the piston analysis, which I'm sure every CEO on the call knows. Understanding your political environment, your economic environment, social, technological, legal, all of those things. Now, this call that we are doing, I'm sure a lot of people are joining the call from Ghana. If you are not in Ghana, the opportunities that are available to you in building wealth are different from if you are in Ghana, especially permanently. Okay, so we'll look in the next slide, we'll look at, let's say, investment vehicles. But let's keep this in mind that when we are talking about investment vehicles, also, you need to consider within my environment and within my circle and within where I live or where I work, what are the opportunities available? And that's where you are doing the piston analysis to understand what exactly is available to you. And so in terms of availability and access, for example, even in terms of the skills that you have, okay, what are the careers or the jobs available to you? I saw a post on LinkedIn yesterday where a lady was lamenting that some employers will make an advertisement and say, we want someone who has a CA, who has qualified, with ICAG or ACCA or whatever it is. And they'll quote the salary as 4,000. Okay, 4,000 cedis. And her point is that no CA should be paid below 10,000. But there were people in the comment section who are saying, well, that is what is available now. If you don't want to apply for the job, then don't apply for it. But there are so many nuances to the call. Okay, but it's fine. That's not what we are addressing. What we are addressing is, again, in terms of availability, what are the jobs even available to you in Ghana to build wealth? And as a CA, should you only be looking within the environments that you are in as in Ghana? And leads us to the topic of global outlook. If you are a CA in Ghana, how much can you earn? And if you decide that, while I'm even coaching people to become CA, the kind of career guidance I'm giving to them is also to be able to look for international opportunities. And remember that right now we are in a global village, so you don't even have to go outside of Ghana to work as a CA. You can get remote jobs. But you are looking at how can I improve my income? How can I get access to other types of knowledge that will help me to improve my income? So all of those considerations are also important because you need to be able to earn, first of all, before you can even start building wealth in the first place. The last two topics are about the continuum of life. So, okay, somebody's asking whether, okay, no, that's fine. Okay, so the continuum of life is basically talking about our past, our present, our future. Everybody's life is made up of these three phases of life. Everybody has a past, everybody has a present, everybody would have a future, hopefully. Will not die tomorrow. So when you also look at these considerations and say, my past of whether the jobs I've been doing, the incomes I've been earning and all of that, what are the lessons I have learned from me to be able to apply it to my present to get a better job so that in future I can build wealth? You always need to keep these phases of life in tandem so that you are not just ignoring that I've been working for 10 years, but my salary is not even up to 5 figures, but I'm loyal to this company and I want to stay here for the rest of my life. How are you going to build wealth? You need to consider all of these things to take certain decisions, which could even eventually be hard, but you need to consider these things. The last thing is that you need to consider the leverage that you have. So when we talk about leverage, it talks about the fact that what are your advantages that you have in life? Okay. And when we talk about leverage, you realize that there were people that we went to school with who basically came to school and they have a leverage and they have an advantage in life, which you don't have because, and I grew up in Koforidua. So let me give you an example. When I went to Wesley Girls High School, when I completed Pentecost School in Koforidua and I went to Wesley Girls Senior High School, you realize that if at the first term when we went, for the first 3 weeks, some of the students had not come because they said they went for vacation abroad and their flights delayed and a whole lot of things. And I'm like, hey, people's children are already vacationing abroad in senior high school and stuff. But you realize that for some parents, they put their children on a certain pedestal. So already their children have a certain leverage, whether it is in terms of financial assets, whether it's in terms of network, social capital, they've already built their children to a certain level. And my husband always says a joke and says when they went to medical school, there were people that even they haven't finished the interview, but they've already been admitted because they know people in certain places, right? And these things happen all the time, and they are not necessarily bad things, but you want to have a certain level of leverage for yourself in terms of social capital and for your children in terms of the networks that you are building. So you need to know how all of this comes together before you can even begin your journey of building wealth. And a lot of these considerations are, first of all, doing your individual self-assessment. And then if you want to, you talk to a financial advisor. You can talk to a financial advisor like me on a one-on-one level or any other financial advisor that you know. But you need to understand these considerations first, and then you know how to bring it all together to work on it, on yourself. Now, our last 2 topics that we'll talk about. So the investing 101, we want to go a bit deeper into the real investing. Now, when we talk about investing, like remember I've talked about the budgeting and all of that, but this is the basic roadmap. I see someone writing on my slides. I don't know whether that is coming from here, but I think one of the hosts is writing on my slides. So please check for me so that you're not marking on the slides. So the first step to building wealth is always financial literacy. So joining calls like this, you know, talking to people about some of this information, that's always the first step. Financial literacy is something that I've been teaching, I think ever since I finished school, but officially teaching financial literacy for the past about 3.5 years. And it's something that we're also pushing to try and get into the curriculum, you know, the basic school curriculum. We realize that a lot of us are not trained in financial literacy or educated in financial, and this even applies to people on the call like accountants. So you see that a lot of accountants, and I like the premise that was given before the call, that a lot of accountants are balancing books, managing a lot of money for other people, but you realize that at the end of the day, you don't have nothing because we don't have a structure. Okay. Now you need to be able to have a structure if you want to build wealth. And I'm going to say 2 things here. Now, there are people who will land into wealth as a one-time advantage. So we've heard of people like Mark Zuckerberg, we've heard of people like Bill Gates, who basically had an idea, ran with the idea, and eventually they made a lot of money out of it, right? But there are people who will also have to build wealth slowly. And it applies to people who are within the workforce. So I'll talk first about building wealth as a one-time thing, then I'll move to building wealth slowly and consistently. Now, if you have an idea, right? Or if you think of something that you want to do, something you want to sell, something idea you want to bring out, and you say that, well, I'm going to bring this idea out, I'm going to bring this product out, I'm going to sell 100 pieces or 200 pieces to a few people, and I'll make $100 million or whatever it is money that you want to make. It can happen. But if you check the statistics, that hardly happens for a lot of people. The statistics are very low on people who have built a significant amount of wealth just based off of an idea. There are people who can also win the lottery, or they will win some raffle or whatever. We've seen people win $10 million and 10 million pounds in the US and the UK as lottery. So it could also happen. But for a large majority of people, you have to build wealth slowly. So what you need to do, if you have to be part of the people that build wealth slowly, a lot of the consideration is around your goals determination, like I talked about, prioritization, and then building your budget. Like I said, that one you can do it yourself, or you can sit down with a financial advisor to help you. Then you come up with an investment strategy. So your investment strategy is really around, what do I want to invest in? And we'll quickly talk about that on the next slide. But what do I want to invest in? How much money do I want to invest, especially on a monthly basis? So let's say you are earning 10,000 or 20,000. After paying all your expenses and everything you have to do in a month, you realize that at the end of every month, maybe you have 5,000 extra money left. So now you're saying that the 5,000 extra money left, what do I want to do with it? What are my goals? You can say that in the next 5 years, I want to have 100,000 sitting in assets, earning passive income for me and all of that. So where should I invest? I can invest in item A, item B, item C, and then bring all of them together. Okay. And then based on this, your investment strategy plan, you then start building consistency and discipline from there. In fact, this particular point on consistency and discipline is one of the ones that most people struggle with. They may have an investment strategy, they may have a budget and all of that, but you realize that after you work with them, they don't have any discipline. So they will go around doing whatever it is, and then they'll come up with all the excuses. And in the end, they cannot action or build their portfolio. So this is what you want to do. This is the direction you want to take. You make sure that you sit down with yourself. You say that I have financial literacy. And remember that financial literacy is not a one-time thing. So this call that you have joined should not be the end of you learning how to build wealth. Okay. You need to be able to sit down yourself and do some research around what you want to do. What are some of the things I need to know? What are some of the items that we need to know? We'll discuss those in the next slide. But you need to sit down with yourself and understand what exactly you want to do and what direction you want to go, or talk to a financial advisor. Now, in building your portfolio, you want to be able to, first of all, one of the most basic ways of building consistency and building discipline is, first of all, building your emergency fund. And I said I'll explain what an emergency fund is. So your emergency fund is your expenses every month without you saving, that you have put aside for 6 months to 8 months. Okay. So let's assume that on a monthly basis, on a monthly basis, you spend, let's say 5,000. Now the 5,000 is divided into so many different things. So maybe the 5,000, you've divided it into your monthly spending in terms of your fuel, going to work, giving yourself money to buy food, maybe a few clothing here and there, maybe a little bit of outing with your friends here and there. So you've calculated everything and it's 5,000. That means that your emergency fund should be 5,000 times 6 or times 8, depending on how much you want to save for. But building your emergency fund is the first way to building consistency because it teaches you the habit of saving and investing, right? You also want to develop your portfolio using a time value of money, analysis, where we, as accountants, I'm sure everybody on the call, I think other people join the call, so let me just explain for the non-accountant. But time value of money basically talks about the fact that if you have 100 cedis today, tomorrow you may not be able to buy the same thing that 100 cedis could have bought today. So basically what you are trying to do with time value of money is hedging against inflation, hedging against forex changes, and hedging against prices. That is why you invest, so that at every point in time, your money has a certain value to be able to acquire the same basket of goods that you wanted to acquire. You also want to build your portfolio by building both financial and non-financial assets. So we talk about financial assets in terms of any investments that you make that you can liquidate, or you can go and ask for your money, and within 3 months to 1 year, you will get your money back. For non-financial assets, you may not be able to get your money back within that time period. So financial assets are around buying T-bills, buying bonds, buying fixed deposits, maybe investing in your friend's food business, something of the sort. Non-financial assets, we have the real estate, buying the cars, buying the intellectual property. Some of these things are all within that range. Then in building your portfolio as well, you also want to consider risk and return. So this is where in finance, we all know the concept of risk-free rates, right? So the risk-free rate is normally computed as the T-bill rate. I'm trying to close this. Okay. So if we look at T-bill rate, so this is T-bill rates in Ghana. And remember that the government of Ghana provides T-bill rates every week. So as at this week on Monday, they provided this T-bill rate. So you will see that for the 91 days, which is the 3 months, which is normally what most of the finance lecturers use for their computations. Now, you want to understand the risk and return associated with every investment portfolio that you want to build. So most of the time, we use the risk-free rate. So you say that when I invest, I don't want to earn anything less than 14%, because if I put my money in T-bills, it is a risk-free thing. By the end of 3 months, they will pay me back my money, no matter what government is in power. Okay, even if there are haircuts to other bonds and other stuff. Remember that the T-bills were being paid at the time, no problem. So we use that as the risk-free rate. So you can say that for every return I compute, I say that every other business apart from T-bill, or every other investment I want to do apart from T-bill, I want to earn the risk-free rate plus maybe 1 or 2, right? So you need to understand the risk associated with every type of return that you want to get. And I'll mention Men's Gold again, because when Men's Gold came and said, I'm going to pay you 10% a month, at the time, first of all, at the time, even if the rate was 14%, this is a yearly rate. So if somebody tells you that I'm going to pay you 10% a month, it means the person is paying you 120% a year. What exactly is the person going to do with your money to pay you 120% a year? Okay. And yes, they explain to a few people that they are going to buy gold and people believe that. But as a finance person, as a future investor, you should query some of these things further. Anything that goes above T-bill plus 5, try and find out what is happening or try and find out what they are investing in. Don't just rush and go and put all of your savings there. So understanding risk associated with any type of investment you make is important because the return will determine how risky the investment is. If the return is too high, you are likely to lose your money and you need to check that. Investment vehicles. So we have, in building your portfolio as well, you want to understand the investment vehicle. An investment vehicle basically refers to any instrument that you can invest in. So we have what we call traditional investment and non-traditional investment. So you will see that the traditional investments are basically what is being run by the banks. So like the treasury bills, the bonds, the dollar bonds, the forexes, and all those things are the traditional ones. Then we have the non-traditional ones where you are doing like an investment in certain things. And I wouldn't complicate it too much, but we have the forwards, the equities, we have all of those things in there. Now, you want to always, whether you are investing in traditional or non-traditional, and like I said, first of all, you always need to do your research, right? When somebody mentions anything to you, and I forgot, I wanted to mention crypto. Crypto is a non-traditional form of investment, but you want to understand. So if I'm doing a non-traditional investment, what are the rules around, what are the regulations around it? We've seen people invest monies in online instruments and basically the website will just go off and they can't find who is behind the website. So whatever investment you want to put in your portfolio, you need to understand what are the legal regulations around it. And even if there are no legal regulations around it, do you know who is running it? Do you know the integrity of the person running it? Do you know if the person goes, or do you know the person's house? Can you go to the person's house and find the person, right? And in fact, what is even the clear understanding around it? If someone says go and buy crypto and you don't necessarily understand what is even crypto in the first place, but you think that just because someone has spoken about it, you go put your money in it because it's very high risk. Your return may be high, but then it's also high risk and you can lose it. So for investment vehicles, what I want you to use when you are assessing an investment vehicle, like I said, first of all, you want to use the risk-free rate, but you also want to tie your risk-free rate to what is the your goal. So we are going to look at what we call the compound interest calculator. And this calculator is online. You can just go check online for a compound interest calculator. They are using the dollar sign. So we'll just go ahead and use the dollar sign, but you can keep it in your mind that it is in CD. Now, for every goal that you make, you want to be able to say that I want to have this amount of money at this point in time. Okay. So let's say you've been working for 10 years, right? Now you're saying that currently I've been working for 10 years. So at the end of 10 years, I want to have an investment that would be paying me, let's say 20% of my salary. So let's say you're earning 10,000 now after working for 10 years. It means that you want to have an investment that will be paying you 2,000 a month apart from work. So it means whether you go to work or you don't go to work, at the end of every month, you want to earn 2,000. Okay. So you want to come here and use the compound interest calculator. And this is especially for people who are starting work, or even if you work for 10 years, you can target for the next 10 years. So let's look, I'm just doing a raw calculation. I'm not going to give you the correct answer. Let's play around with the compound interest calculator. So let's say when you started working 10 years ago, right? You said you started an initial investment of 5%. Now T-bill rates vary. So, and I'm not going to do any political conversation here, but when some governments come into power, we realize that the T-bill rates are very high because they mismanage the economy. But normally when some governments come into power and they are doing a good job, then the T-bill rate will stabilize. So currently we have a good T-bill rate. Please, I've not talked about any political party. I'm just giving you an example. So the current T-bill rate, we are using 15%. Now let's assume that someone has just recently started working. So you are saying that every month I want to put 500 cedis down for the next 10 years, because in the next 10 years, I anticipate that I want to be earning 20% of my salary, which is around 2,000. So every month you put 500 cedis in T-bills, you continue investing it. And then here you can say that maybe every month I want to increase it by 20%, but let's not even do that. Let's just do a flat 500 cedis every month when you start working for the next 10 years at the T-bill rate. So you come here and you calculate. And the T-bill rate will then show you. So you see that you have 138,000, right? Now, this 138, this is your investment for the next 10 years, which you've been doing for the next 10 years without doing anything else. Just when you get your salary, you take 500, go and put it in the bank. So let's take this 138,000, which is saying that this will be your future value after doing the 500 CD for 10 years. So I'm just going to do a simple Excel calculation here, right? So it says I have 138,000. Am I still on? The page is a bit quiet, or everybody's just paying attention. That's why. I hope I've not gone off.
Oh, we are following.
Okay, all right. So we have 138,000. T-bill rate is currently 15%, right? This is for the full year. So if you normally, because it's for the full year, if you buy quarterly, it's divided by 4, right? So this is the rate that you'll be getting every 3 months. Now we are going to multiply this by this and see how much we'll get. So it means every 3 months, you're going to be receiving this amount of money, right? Whether you work or you don't work in the next 10 years. So now let's divide that by 3. So we divide that by 3. So it means that on a monthly basis, you'll be getting 1,007, which means that your goal of 2,000 per month, whether you work or you don't work, will not be achieved. So let's go and say, let's increase the amount to, let's say, even 600, right? The same computations. We don't change anything. We are just increasing the amount to 600. So you go and then you calculate, and then we come and pick the figure that we got here. So now we are getting, if we increase it to 600 by just 100 CDs, you go, you pick it, and then you're getting 163. So I come and put that back here and see whether we'll be able to reach our goal. So you can see that we have reached our goal here. So in terms of goal setting, like I said, you should set goals that are specific to you. So you can decide that if I have just started working, I'm not married yet, I don't have children yet, but in the next 5-10 years, I want to have children, they'll probably be going to school or whatever it is. I want to make sure that by the time my children come, I'm not the one who paid their fees. I'll have a separate fund that will be paying their fees. Or in the next 10 years, I don't want to pay rent. So in the next 10 years, I'll make sure that I have a separate fund that would be able to pay my rent. Or I want to build, so I want to be buying maybe cement on a monthly basis or whatever. But whatever your goal is, if you are someone that is not going to hit at once, you probably need some slow pace. And this is one of the ways to go. It is the consciousness and the consistency that you want to build. You can use this compound interest calculator for many, many, many things. Okay. You can use it for in terms of even your project's financing and your computations and all that, but you can also even use it for, if I want this amount at the end of 1 year or at the end of 2 years, because I want to buy a car, I want to buy a fridge, or I want to buy whatever, you can use the compound interest calculator for that. So you can just go on. I'll share the link with Aiken so that he can share it with the group. But you need to be conscious, right, of using this investment vehicle, because at the end of the day, if we are investing the same 700 CDs, right, in, let's say, your friend's food business. So your friend sells gari and beans, which we call gobe, on the Koforidua Polytechnic campus. And your friend says, I can actually give you 30 CDs a day. Or let's say I can give you 50 CDs a day, depending on how business goes, right? You can then come into the compound interest calculator, or you can do the computation and say that if the friend would rather give me 50 CDs a day, should I rather invest with it? Or should I split the money into 2? Invest half with my friend and invest half in T-bills or what, so that I can get a balanced portfolio and reduce the risk of loss. So it depends on you, the conversations you have with yourself and your conversations with your personal advisor, your personal finance advisor. I want to quickly run through the rest so that Doc will take over. Also starting a business and debt. So one of the surest ways to building a high amount of income is starting a business. But like I keep saying, we are all business people. So we have the statistics to say that a lot of businesses fail, especially within the first 5 years. So in starting your business, first of all, you want to prepare a very strategic plan before you start a business. If anybody is on the call and you have an idea and you say, I want to start classes, or I want to start selling something, I want to partner with someone, you need a strategic approach. If you yourself cannot prepare a plan, you can talk to somebody. But let me just give you a quick example. There are 80 people on the call currently, right? Now, I am a financial advisor, and I have financial literacy classes. I have one-on-one classes. So I can say that if I have a business, I can come and pitch to all the 80 people on the call. And then when I pitch to 80 people on the call, I can say that I'm having a seminar or a class or something for 200 cedis, per year. I can go around, get 80 people to do it, and this is how much money I'll make. But you need to make sure that, again, the strategic approach works, because some businesses will require some capital input, and that's where debt comes in. So you also need to understand what is good debt and what is bad debt, right? Not every debt is bad. In Africa, a lot of people are afraid of debt because we've generally been trained that you must not owe someone. The common keyword is medical, But you need to understand that there is something called other people's money in finance. And other people's money basically refers to using debt to raise your business, using debt to improve on your business and make a profit. Maybe after the call, anybody can go and do statistics. If you go and check the statistics and the research, a lot of rich people use somebody's money to do their business. And I'll still use the example of the same Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, and even locally, the people that we think are rich, even Mark Dan, who I presented his, his motivational speech at the beginning, all those people are using debt. If you should go in there and check how they are running their businesses, all of those people are using debt, the despites and all the companies that they are building. Because you see, for a lot of business activities, you cannot bootstrap. You can decide that, well, I want to start a business. In the beginning, I have 10,000, or I even have 100,000. But at some point, you need some boosting to the 100,000. So in that case, you need to do your computations to understand that this money I'm going to take, would it serve the purpose for which I'm going to take? And can I pay it back? So you can also start a business as part of your portfolio, right? It's one of the ways that you can get rich very quickly, especially if your business picks up, or especially if your idea is unique and you are selling something that you can make a lot of money. In recent times, one of the industry that has made a lot of money is the technological industry. So when the tech invention started, and I don't know how many people have heard of Silicon Valley on the call, but when the tech boom started, the investors in Silicon Valley took over the whole thing and they started investing, and now it has created a major boom. In times past, agriculture was the way to make money. In times past, mining gold was the way to make money. But we all saw even companies like Anglo Gold come into Ghana, close down, go back, come back, and all of those. So every industry may not necessarily run forever, but you can come up with a business idea. It could even be an existing business idea, but because you've improved on it, it can be part of your portfolio and you can use it to build wealth for yourself and for your children. Last three, insurance is also one of the ways to diversify your portfolio. And insurance is a little bit of a technical area, and most people don't really try to get an understanding before they jump on. But let me just talk a bit about insurance. So in insurance, most of the risk policies, what they call risk policies, is what you should be seeking when you're seeking an insurance policy. And I told my group that I spoke to somebody who is an actual dollar millionaire in Ghana. I did a class for the person. And I think part of their money came from, unfortunately, the person losing their dad. I think they had an insurance policy from the US and they got a lot of money. And in the company where I used to work before I moved to my current company, one of our sister companies, like in the industry, had done an insurance policy for their staff. So it was a global company, a worldwide company. What they did was that they did one insurance policy for all their staff all over the world. Fortunately or unfortunately, the guy was working in Ghana. He died, and his wife got almost $500,000 out of that policy insurance. So insurance is a good way to go. You can look at the risk policies that they are doing to see how it benefits you. Try to understand, because even they have insurance for critical illness, and we saw that in the first slide. They have insurance for critical illness, for disability, for death. They have insurance for funerals, and also that if God forbid your parents are old and they die, you can even have an insurance policy where if they die, the whole funeral is paid for. You don't have to take money out of your salary, or you don't have to take a loan, or you don't have to take your savings to have the funeral. So insurance is also one of the ways to diversify. And then we have upskilling and reskilling, right? So upskilling and reskilling is basically around, as accountants and as chartered accountants, a lot of us are still doing work in internal audits, doing work in external audits. A lot of us are still working in finance and accounts and all of that. But remember that right now, the world is changing, even in terms of what CFOs do. Okay. Initially, it was about the bookkeeping and recording and presenting the numbers, but now it has moved beyond that to strategy, where if you tell them these are the numbers, so what should they do? What advice are you giving to them? And again, areas that have become very critical right now in finance is gender and ESG, which is two of the main areas I work in and I'm very interested in. So you want to upskill and say that as a chartered accountant, what are some of the areas I'm looking at? Even in tech, right now, data analysis, data science, all of those things are big things when it comes to finance. So you always want to make sure that you upskill so that in terms of your own value and in terms of whatever you are bringing to the table, are you able to go to an interview and they tell you that, oh, we're paying 5,000 or 10,000, but you tell them that, look, the kind of value I'm bringing to the company, I think you people should pay me 15,000, and they will agree. And these things have happened so many times to so many people, because when you go, it is the value you are presenting to them. Yes, they'll give you a job description in the vacancy announcement and all of that. But if you go them and you can convince them that you are upskilled and you are reskilled and you can bring them the value, then your portfolio goes up, because then you'll be able to bargain for more. The last thing is building your portfolio in terms of retirement funds. And Doc will take over in terms of retirement funds. But if there are any questions, I don't know whether we take the questions before or we should wait for Doc to finish and then we'll take the answers from there. So Akins, I would hand over here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Akins, are you there? Akins. Okay, if he's not around, good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, I want to thank Jennifer for that splendid presentation. I think that if it's in a hall auditorium, we'll give you a clap. So without much ado, we can say yeah to Jennifer.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, Jenny, thank you so much. I may want to continue from where he left off by adding a few things to what she has already mentioned. I must say that there are connections between our presentation. So where I think there is an overlap, I may have to skip for us to save more time. Now, Jennifer have talked about savings and investment, but there are certain practical savings habits that as individual accountants, we need to cultivate. Now, I must tell you, as a matter of agency, every individual, that once you start working deliberately, you need to put aside 20% of your monthly regular earnings. Now, when I say monthly regular earnings, this should be part of your mindfulness. So you talk about mindset. It's a deliberate and conscious behavior you need to cultivate. Again, she talked about consistency in savings. Now, you can never have a regular investment when there is no consistency in savings. So savings is an action. It is not just by saying. People say that I will do this, I will do this. But if you don't take the action, please, in the long term, you can never achieve financial success. Again, how many people check their bank balance at least every week? Now, if you don't check your bank balance every week, it means that you are not doing anything that puts money at your bank. And that is dangerous. So, you see, the whole concept of this particular continuous professional development is to equip us to be financial independent. And achieving financial independence before retirement is the best way to go. If you don't achieve financial independence before retirement, please, I bet to say that the future is bleak. Track down your expenses with your savings. In fact, most of you or us, let me add myself, sometimes we eat our savings. Please, it's a bad habit. Let us avoid that. It will not help us. Again, set one tiny financial intention for the day. What does it mean? It means that, say, a particular day, I will not spend. But whatever money I am supposed to spend, or buy, even if it is food, breakfast or lunch, I am going to put it by transferring it during the week to my bank account. And I will intentionally go there at the end of Friday to check whether my bank account balance have increased, just to give me some kind of assurance. So, on a nutshell, what we are trying to say is that investment results from savings. So, if you fail to save, you fail to invest. That is the honest truth. And that is a concept we need to understand without doing a regular savings, you cannot have an investment. So investing is built out from savings. Again, in my presentation, in fact, we need to be able to answer these questions. What does it mean to retire? Individually, if I'm to ask you, like Jennifer was trying to perhaps engage us, if I'm to ask you, what does it mean to retire? Then I ask the question again. What does it mean to retire? When to retire? That is a very interesting thing. What does it mean to retire? When to retire? Now, when to retire, who should answer that question for you? It depends upon how prepared you are for your retirement. Now, if you are not prepared, you will never. I know colleagues or senior members who will tell you that by the age of 50, I'm not going to work for anybody. I am on retirement and I'm doing my own thing. So he knows how he is preparing. And Jennifer gave you financial stimulations of that. What is your retirement planning strategy? You talk about, I saw Jennifer presenting on a monthly basis, maybe trying to spend at around 2,000 Ghana cedi a month. I am telling you, as the work that we do, planning and making sure that every month you are able to have 2,000 is not enough for your retirement planning. So what is the best strategy to use so far as retirement is concerned? How much does one need to retire? Again, I saw somebody sharing that rich is relative. And that is true. Somebody may have financial health. Financial health here means that there's money sitting at your bank. And when you say there's money, but in reality, life after retirement is different. So we are talking about retirement as a whole package, not only on financial freedom. Of course, I can say 70–80% of it is based upon your financial freedom because that will culminate to a lot of things you can do. So on the next share, in retirement, what is most important is your security. And security comes from various angles. So there is security reasons why you need to prepare for retirement. I have seen people when they go on retirement, their social network is there for them. And therefore, they don't even suffer. By a click of a phone call, whatever he has built during his working life, during retirement, he eats from it. So that is something you require so far as retirement is concerned. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is important is that, have you answered all these questions? May I ask? If we have answered this question, is it affirmative or perhaps we are saying that there is more we need to do before we consider retirement? If the answer is yes, then flow with me. Now, retirement concepts, I have not defined retirement, but if you want to define retirement, you can take any of these definitions as part of your retirement. That an action or a fact of leaving one's job and ceasing to work regularly. I want to emphasize on the word regularly. Now, when you go on retirement, you will not say that you will not work. In fact, if you stop doing anything and sitting down during retirement, I am telling you that you will not enjoy retirement. So the job we are talking about here is your regular work that you used to do when you are in active service. Again, a person chooses to permanently leave the workforce, often associated with a change in lifestyle and a shift in focus from work-related activities to personal pursuits. So you will see that you have retired from what you do on regular basis to something you yourself are doing and you enjoy doing it on retirement. Without you being forced by anybody, it is by your own will that you decide to do it. Again, retiree relies on accumulated savings. And this is where Jennifer made a very bold decision over here, that your accumulated savings, your pensions, or other sources of income is very key when it comes to retirement. So retiring means that you are leaving something you do regularly, but what are you going to live on after retirement? Very, very important. Now, what we should bear in mind during our retirement is that I ask when to retire. Now, that question, if I want you to answer, I will say it is a personal decision. Like I said, somebody says that he'll retire at the age of 50. Somebody says at the age of 55. Somebody says that the government working environment at the age of 60, so that is when he's going to retirement. So here, I want to say that such kind of decisions are personal. But there is something that you consciously have to cultivate, that what is enough? What is enough for you to retire is a personal decision. You must know when you are ready to retire. And it's about having, is it about having enough money? The answer may be no. Or perhaps in terms of percentage, you can give it 70%. But out of the money is what we call the emotional and social factors during retirement. Of course, somebody said that when you have money and you retire, still, people come to you because they know you have. That is true. They come for your money. They don't come because you don't have money. So that may be a factor. But emotionally, when they come, socially, when they come, are you happy? I have seen people who go on retirement and they resort to church activities or social gathering activities. Fine, that is okay. But what is enough during retirement? I think that this is a question that every individual must try to answer. What is enough is very important. You can only determine what is enough through retirement planning. So in your retirement planning, you need to have what we call financial strategies of savings, investment, and ultimately distributing money meant to sustain oneself during retirement. So what I'm trying to say here is that it's important that you plan for your retirement. Setting retirement income goals to ensure financial security and independence in the future. And that is why Jenny was blunt in saying that your regular savings on a monthly basis will determine how good you will look like when you go on retirement. So retirement planning helps individuals to prepare a steady stream of income as they approach the later stages of their lives. And that is key. Now, let me take you to the biblical perspective. Those of us who are Christians here, or those who are not Christians, perhaps we know the ant. What does the ant do? He gathers. The ant gathers and gathers and gathers. During the dry season, what does he do? The ant depends upon it. And that is the status of retirement. In your retirement time, the savings and the investment that you have done, that is what you are going to eat from. So you need to gather in your active age. So in your active age, if you fail to gather, please, I don't know how you will enjoy your retirement. So in a retirement state, you are looking for financial security during your retirement. You are looking at returns for your lifetime. In fact, it is said by research that if you plan very well for your retirement, all other things being equal, you will live above 80 years. But the question is that what you save and invested, can it take you 30 years after your retirement? Now, that is why I say that leaving your job is what we talk about regular job, which you forfeit. But after retirement, there should be something that should keep you must be doing, that will be bringing you income. Because what you may have saved may not be enough. So returns for your lifetime is good because you have done a lot of savings. You have done a lot of investment, which you are going to depend on. We'll talk about a bit of them. Jennifer talked about them, so I will not take much time. Again, attend to your medical emergencies. Very important. If you want to secure your funds for retirement, please don't joke with your medical emergencies. There is something attitudinal behavior among us. Oh, I have simple headed. There is no problem. I have this. There is no problem. I have that. There is no problem. But I'm telling you, anytime you see that there is something about your health, please attend to it. Attend to it. Don't procrastinate your health. If not, during retirement, you will live with sickness and you will never enjoy retirement. I want to say that in trying to retire, there's a concept we call renaissance and reconnaissance. Renaissance here is about rebirth. Now, remember that when those of us who are parents and we have given birth, the child at that time does not know anything. It is the parent that controls the child. Now, in those days, the child does not control itself. In fact, see yourself as a rebirth. A rebirth in the sense that nobody is going to give you that regular income you earned during your active time. So the point is that you are going to begin a new life. And this new life, psychologically, are you ready? It depends upon the preparation you have put in. And that brings us to what we call the reconnaissance. Checking out a situation before taking action. So before you retire from your regular work, what is your situation? So I have a lot of teachers who retired, and we know that accountants will not make those mistakes, that our retirement pension is what we are using for our roofing. Please, when you roof the building, what are you going to live on? It's the greatest mistake of all time, because that retirement package is not supposed to be meant for that particular project that you did or you have not completed. It is for you to live for the number of years ahead of you. So don't use that money in a quick move by buying one item and it ends. Please, you will suffer life. So let us understand. Renaissances, being rebirth, so far as retirement is concerned. Reconnaissances, checking your situation before you take the decision to go on active retirement. Again, your retirement readiness is determined by the resources that you hold. And here, I think that Jennifer have talked about resources, both financial and non-financial resources. And resources is key. Your readiness to secure your funds for your retirement is based upon your resources. And it is these same resources that determine your freedom, the freedom that you are going to enjoy. And this freedom that you are going to enjoy is over a time period. So this time that you are going to enjoy this freedom is based upon, again, if you look at the arrows, it's a process. So without resources, you cannot enjoy freedom. And you cannot, when you are enjoying freedom, how long will this freedom last? So the timing of your freedom must also be determined during your retirement. These are very key. And like I said, I have talked about resources. Jennifer have talked about it. But let me also say that in terms of your financial resources, look at your daily income, weekly income, and your monthly income. We need to cultivate the habits as accountants where we say that we don't depend on monthly income alone, but we also have daily income and we have weekly income as well. So if you don't have a daily income, can you cultivate the habit of having a weekly income apart from your monthly income? If you can do that, then you are secured to go on retirement. In terms of the non-financial resources, Jennifer talked about them, so I will not bother you much. But let me be honest with you. In Ghana, land is one of the essential things you need to have. If you have land, if you are doing investment and your investment is to buy land, register it, have the property, secure it, I can tell you, a land that was bought in the year 2012 at the cost of 20,000 in Koforidua here is now being sold at 250,000 Ghana cedi. So assuming I bought about 10 or 20 of this land with a loan, and I'm getting these returns at the end of this particular period, it tells you that in terms of tangibles, it is the way to go. Equipment, I have seen friends who put resources together to buy trucks, to buy vehicles, to buy vans. And depending upon how this is being managed, you can secure your retirement funds. And if you manage it well, I see people with truck, and at the end of a year, they have bought additional truck. 2 years, they have. Now, at the end of 5 years, they have some number of trucks they are managing. All depends upon the fact that when he or she leaves the regular job, he can depend upon this amount that is coming from those savings. So I have talked about social network. Please, in retirement, you need friends, you need family. You need to know yourself very well. You need intellectual capital during retirement. Your knowledge is one of the most important things that will make people consult you during retirement. Your skills, the time you have will let people, young people, invite you, Daddy, I'm going this place, or Mommy, I'm going here, so please, can you accompany me? Because you have a lot of time, and that is a non-financial resource that you need to safeguard. Jennifer have talked about traditional investments, so I will not talk about treasury bill, treasury bonds, and those kind of things. The mutual funds are all part of the traditional investments that one have to do. But like she said, there are two types of investment: the traditional investment and the non-traditional investment. The non-traditional investment is what most of us are not paying peculiar attention. And like I have said, in this Ghana that we find ourselves, the real estate business is very capital intensive, no doubt about it. Jennifer asked how many of you have a house or a building or are staying in your home. Please, at the age of 35, again, it depends upon when you started working. By the age of 35, you have built a 3 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms and hall and living in. You are saving your rental payments for your retirement. So it must be a conscious and deliberate effort to secure your retirement funds so that your retirement funds are not used for rentals. It is used as a means of your outkeep to be able to live long. So I have talked about real estate is an important thing. I have a colleague who tells me that at least every year he has about 13 or 14 years to go. Every year he's building a chamber and hall self-contained. Every year at least. So what that he does is that through his savings and investment, he put that resources together and get that property. He's doing this. He wants to have some number of apartments before he goes on retirement. So on monthly basis, all that he do is that those monthly incomes hit his accounts for his retirement. He is securing his retirement. That is the reality. In fact, you cannot start with your chamber and hall. You need to get the land first. Then once you get the land, you look at, in fact, I must also say this. Land acquisition is one of the important and difficult things in Ghana. But if it is in a very good area, the area or location of the land matters a lot. Unless you are doing something also related to farming, which we will talk about later on. So secure your retirement benefit, frankly speaking, you can look at real estate investment, you can look at your treasury bills like Madam have talked about. So one of the things that we can do to secure our funds for retirement is farming or agribusiness. In fact, it is important. Now, as a farmer, once you start, you will make a lot of mistakes. So don't begin when you are retiring before you start farming. Please, farming can take into animal, crop farming. It can be so many ways. But I'm telling you that if you want to secure your retirement, I have a senior colleague, the chairman of this society, who during his retirement, all that he does is farming, poultry. And he started a poultry about 10, 15 years before he went on retirement. So he knows the in and out of poultry. And that is something that we need. Now in Ghana, there is something we call cloud farming, where I will not go and buy the land, but people are looking for money for farming. So it's like mutual. You put all those resources together. You need to locate them. You go to Grow For Me, a website. You can be able to allocate. They grow. And at the end, they sell the produce. Whatever is being gotten as proceeds is shared for the contributors. And again, that is to secure your retirement. If you cannot do the farming yourself, you can also look for avenues of cloud fund. Of course, I was happy when Jennifer said that at this particular level, per our intellectual abilities, when you hear something, the best thing is to do research on them. And once you do research, you equip yourself before making a decision, which is very, very important. We are also talking about shares. In fact, in Ghana, we have investing.com. In fact, when you go there, you see a number of things you can buy shares on. Jennifer have talked about it. But let me be honest with you. Most of us use Google, we use Facebook, we use Netflix, and so on and so forth. But how many of us own shares in these worldwide recognized networks? They also, if you visit the US stock market, you can also buy a share in Facebook. As much as people continue to use it, you also benefit. So don't sit idle. In Ghana, we have the Petra. The Petra is also a savings and network where you can also do investment. And during retirement, you enjoy from it. Jennifer have talked about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. Please read on Bitcoin. For me, some people think it is risky. It is very risky. But you need to know your risk tolerance level. And it's a viable way to secure your retirement. Make money out of it and save it. But if you don't have the hearts, please build a strong heart before you enter into cryptocurrency, because it's about movement of fund. I have talked about freedom. Most retirement plans cover health insurance. And this means your health care and regular visit to the hospital will be entirely catered for during retirement. And that is going to ensure your financial freedom. Now, time, I have talked about time. Time is an excellent determinant of wealth for your retirement. Please respect time. To secure your funds for retirement, please respect time. We all know about the time value of money, but I can tell you that we all have equal access to time. But how we utilize our time will secure our funds for retirement. Now, retire when save. I have talked about this. When save is based on your decision now. So what decision are you making? Please, ladies and gentlemen, let us make a decision that becomes your legacy. And that decision that becomes your legacy will generate your security when you get onto your retirement age. Remember, when you get employment, the day you were employed, that same day you should have prepared for your retirement. So it is said that retirement is just around the corner as soon as you secure your full-time employment. So anything that you start doing today, think about the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, some of us, that retirement is waiting for you. And therefore, preparation starts with a physical attitude and emotional decision. Of course, accountants, we don't believe in feelings. But I can tell you that if you don't prepare very well before you go on retirement, it will be an emotional disaster for you. So please, secure your funds before. Know your minimum distribution daily or weekly or monthly. In fact, have this particular habits, health savings accounts before you go on retirement. Take note of that. Have a health savings account where this account is meant for my health. So anytime I have health issues, if I have health insurance and it cannot cover all, I can go to that account and take something. Have a COLA, what we call cost of living adjustments in your life, to prepare for your secure funds so far as retirement. Then have long-term care. In fact, during retirement, don't be surprised when people come for you that they are in need and therefore you have to help them. To help them, check your donor advised fund. In other words, have a donor advised account. If you don't have any money in that account, tell the person that this one you cannot help during your retirement. And therefore, whilst you are working, set a donor advised account where you can advise yourself. There are people who give. They love giving. Of course, the Bible says that there is a small blessing in giving than receiving. But when you are giving, where are you giving from? Are you giving from your savings and your investments or your surplus funds? It must come from your surplus funds, not your savings and investment for your retirement. So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask this. Savings, investment, and retirement are must for financial independence. Do you agree? As many that agree, please, let us start the habit of savings. Let us start the habit of investment. And this will lead us to a safe retirement. And our safe retirement is when we have financial discipline. I thank you for coming. And I think that we'll open the forum for questions, if any. Thank you very much. Akins, if you are there, you can take over. Hello, Akins.
Yeah, hello, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Okay. So please, questions can come in now. So we'll be receiving your questions and be asking the facilitators to answer them for us.
Whilst we are waiting for that, okay, let me share the financial model of cultivating a habit. I think Jennifer did something, but let me throw a little bit light on that by sharing a model here for us to look at, an investment schedule model.
I think that was something my hand I was trying to say.
Please, the questions can come in. If you have a question, the floor is open. Like Jennifer used the compound interest, I'm just using a simple interest. Now, if this cumulate to compound interest, it will be super. So we are assuming that you want to do an investment and you have a start balance of 1,000. Please, can you see the Excel sheet I have shared? You have a start balance of 1,000 Ghana cedi. And monthly, even with this start balance, on monthly basis, you also want to deposit 500 Ghana cedi. And averagely, we are assuming that on a yearly basis, you have 15%. And what this 15% means is that you need to then determine if it's on annual basis, every month, how much am I earning? So on my 1,000 Ghana cedi, I may be earning around 8 Ghana cedi on a monthly basis. Now, what this means is that if the 500 also is going to be put in on monthly, I will be earning around 4 Ghana cedi and 20 pesos, around that way. So interest on monthly basis will be around 12 Ghana cedi. Now, this 12 Ghana cedi, 50 pesos, will also be earning income on the subsequent months. And the principal amount vis-a-vis your monthly deposit will also be earning interest. Now, if you accumulate it for a period of, let's say, 10, 15 years, let's see what will happen. You will see that your wealth, it begins to grow, and that will help you to retire very well. And when you are retiring and you have these funds in your account, you begin to smile because you know that you have planned very well before your retirement. So by simple mathematics, for the next 50 years, that will be around 180 months. So we are thinking about you having a wealth in your balance around your interest alone being 252,609 Ghana cedi 71 pesos, and your regular contribution 343. So when you put those things together, you are hoping around 800,000 Ghana cedi. Now ask yourself, like somebody said, $1 billion, 1 billion pounds, and so on and so forth. Will that money be able to take care of you on retirement? If no, then your initial savings, which you are trying to invest, may be insufficient. So you need to adjust. But let me be honest with you, this is a discipline that you need to cultivate, that regularly, no matter how this amount I'm keeping it for my retirement, and therefore I'm not going to touch it. That is where you build wealth. And it is very important that we cultivate that habit. Okay, do we have any questions on the floor now?
I think there's no question in yet.
Okay, then it means that, okay, please.
Okay, so questions.
Yeah, my name is Asama. Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. But let's look at these two things, savings and debt.
Okay.
Now, in this part of our world, we have two main challenges. One is the level of low income, and then two is honesty. Okay. Now, could we lock up our savings in debt to maintain the attitude, okay? But unfortunately, our debts are so expensive, or loans are so expensive that it doesn't make sense to do that. But how can you talk about this informal way of doing savings, i.e., what we have in our informal workplace, where probably 10 people every month they will give 200 or 500, and then one person takes it, okay, to, swerve or in a way take off the burden of cost of savings in this part of our world. So if Doc or Madam can share more light on these things, that is my question.
Okay, thank you. So two things, right? And I'm happy you asked the question. I think when I was speaking in the beginning, I mentioned that I'm running an investment community, right, of 230 people. Now, the two things that you talked about, they are called either crowdfunding or community investing, right?
Okay.
Now, what happens is that most people put their monies together and then they put it in a bank. So let's do this. There are currently, there were 80 people on the call. Let's assume that all the 80 of us, right, we each have 1,000 cedis right now sitting in our bank account, our savings account. Now, all these 1,000 cedis is sitting in different savings accounts. So what happens is that if I walk into a bank and I say I want a loan, they look at my 1,000 cedis and then they say, you either don't qualify for the loan or the amount you want and all of those things. But what if the 80 of us came together? We all decide that the 80,000 we have, we are going to put it together in one account. And every month, each of us is going to top up by either 200 or 300. Then someone will be an administrator of the fund or a steward of the fund. We have executives on our club, actually. So what happens is that we now have 80 people. Now, remember that normally in communities, it is not everybody that will need a loan at the same time, most of the time. So let's say out of the 80 of us that we put our money together, one or two people say they have an idea that they are sure the idea will work, or they have a business plan that they are sure the business plan will work. Other people within the group and all of that will come in and guarantee for them or have a conversation. So the person then takes either 10,000 or 20,000 or 40,000 out of the 80,000, goes to invest it in whatever business he's doing, gets the profit and brings the money back plus the interest. The interest will then be paid amongst the members in the group. That is what we call community investing. We also have, so it's one of the things I have been running for the past 3 years. We call ourselves Friends Investment and Networking Club. We've raised over 4 million Ghana cedis for the past 2 years. And I encourage these communities more because what happens is with the model that you talked about first, when it comes to what we call traditional susu and collect in Ghana, what happens is the person that collects first or second is the only one who truly benefits. Because if I'm going to be contributing for 10 months, you're not going to pay me any interest on my money, but I'm still going to have to contribute for 10 months and receive last. It means I lose the value of my money, number one. It means I don't get any profit on my money. It means other people benefit before I do. And then sometimes when it gets to people and they take the money because they don't have any real need of the money, as at the time that they are taking the money, they either go and waste it, but they still have to contribute for the remaining period. So I encourage investment communities, and our investment community was formed to solve this problem, the exact problem that you talk about. It was formed to solve the problem of access to cheaper financing. It was formed to solve the problem of networking. It was formed to solve the problem of people having business ideas, but they probably don't know anybody to talk to, or they don't know how to go about it. You know, it helps you to get access to professionals. So I encourage people, and it's something that we are scaling. I wasn't well, so the scaling went down, but it's something that we are scaling where we say that if we should enter the ICAG community, there are things that normally are formed like credit unions. But you realize that sometimes the credit unions, even the rules of the credit union, and again, even the interest rates on the credit unions are high. But when you formed an investment community with either your friends or your family or your school people or your community people, you can even decide that the bank loans are given. Last year, most of the banks, when the previous government was in power, the loan rates were between 29 and 42%. So we decided that it is our group, it is our money. So we are not going to give loans above 25%. All our loans must be below 25%. If you own a group or you're a member of such a group, you can even decide that we are going to give loans at 10% a year. It's your money and it's the group's money and you decide. So it is important to form some of these communities, to join some of these communities, because whether we like it or not, interest rates in the economy are dictated by factors that normally go beyond our doing. So in as much as we will lament and talk and talk and talk, at the end of the day, we may not be able to do anything. So we can start with some of these communities, push it out, have people join it, have someone run it. I have been running it for a while. I know people that are also doing it. So you can get a financial steward or someone to run it, someone to guide you. I can even guide you on that. And you form this community, you realize that in a short time, you will raise a very huge amount of money. And you'll be investing at even a faster rate. This week alone, we are investing 1 million Ghana cedis because a lot of our investments have matured. So if we have business people on the platform who say, there's 1 million cedis that has matured, I have a business idea, quick turnaround for 100,000, 200,000. We deliberate and we give it to the person, go get the money and come back. So these are some of the things that you can look at. Other than that, then you may have to grapple with, a lot of these bank rates. But for me, communities are more important in solving a lot of the personal financial problems we have than going at it alone. Yeah. So, Doc, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, thank you. I think you have done a splendid job. Let me just say that, the Bank of Ghana has just formed a committee or a body to look at Islamic finance in Ghana. And what we talk about community or group savings culminating into investment is built on Islamic finance, where perhaps among the groups, they prohibit interest, but they use it in various ventures that brings a lot of money to add value to the existing group. So it is regulation. You see, Jennifer, where you started from, I was happy. You have built a trusted community. Even within the ICA community fraternity. Let me also say that I have the opportunity to join the welfare committee of ICA. When we're trying to develop a policy, I am telling you that it came as a mirage. Simply because, where are the monies coming from? The welfare. So we resorted into insurance. But I'm telling you that if we are going to build a community where credit union, somebody have just mentioned it in a group, becomes the source of funding of most of the things we do, then there should be collateral coming from the members. And this collateral, with a body, we solve that problem when we constantly contribute to a particular fund for investment purpose. So it's a way to go, but the trust issues and the regulations surrounding it is what perhaps we must pay peculiar attention to, because in Ghana, it is the only country that partnership businesses have faded out. And groups coming together, frankly speaking, without regulation is very, very dicey. That is why people believe in individualism than going into group financing and projects.
Okay, thank you very much. A follow-up question.
Please go
Okay,
ahead.
so
Yeah,
I think there's some. Okay, yeah, you can go ahead.
So, madam, as you explained, how has that helped your group members or the members in keeping up with savings discipline? Okay, and then the second aspect was what Dr. hinted at the last section, the trust issues. I want to learn from Brigade that when you want to go far, you move in partnership. But in this part of our world, it's very difficult to do that because of trust issues. So how have you been able to handle these two things? Keeping up the discipline with this thing, as in the savings, and then the trust issues too. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I'll take the first question, the consistency in savings and investment. So again, let me give everybody on the call this exercise. So I want everybody to quickly think of 5 people who you think are in your circle. It can be your family, it can be your friends, anybody at all. Think about, first of all, if I needed 5,000 cedis, or let me even use 10,000. If I needed 10,000 cedis, who in this 5 circle member would I call? I don't know if anybody has gotten your first 2 people that you call that you are 100% sure that they'll be able to get the money for you. Just raise your hand or type in the comment for me. I want to see something. If you needed 10,000, do you have 5 people within your circle who can raise that money for you? I don't see any hands typed. Does it mean everybody does not have? Okay, someone says no. Okay. Okay. So that is the first question that answers the question on trust. If you don't have anybody in your circle that you trust, first of all, remember that I mentioned a personal circle audit. Okay. Everybody needs to start assessing within your circle. So I have all of these friends or family or colleagues at work, and nobody can raise 10,000 for me if I am dying today. It's questionable, and you should question that. Then what kind of people do I have? The second question you should ask yourself is, if someone needed 10,000 from you today, would you be able to give the person? Let's say, would you have the availability and would you have the trust? If your answer is also no, then it means that you also need to question yourself, because it means you also don't trust anybody in your circle. Now, I understand that there are lots of trust issues within our jurisdiction and within our part of the world. However, Uncle Ebo White said the change begins with you. And a lot of us don't start the change from ourselves. We think that everybody cannot be trusted. But I'm telling you that there are more people to be trusted than more people to be distrusted. We sort of like generalize the idea of mistrust because one or two people have shown us what normally people would say shege. So one person or two people show us shege, and we tend to think that everybody cannot be trusted. But one of the reasons why people in the other sectors in Europe and America prosper is because their system, even though there are systems in place, yes, to track people, the address system and all of that, their system is also based on a certain level of trust. Recently in Japan or Korea, their toll booth got spoiled. So they opened it and said, everybody should just go and you can pay later. And the people actually went home and paid with their credit cards. So you need to start building within your circle. If it is you and your brothers, you and your siblings, and you talk to them and say, you know what, we are 3 brothers in the family, we are 5 brothers in the family. Let's start putting money in a bank account. Someone will oversee the bank account. We'll have double signatories. We'll put the money there for 6 months. We'll not touch it. If someone wants to use the money for something, we'll sit down and have a conversation and all of that. It's just small. Because my group started with only 40 people. And within 3 years, we have grown to 230 people. And you realize that, again, there are a lot more people to be trusted than not to be trusted. We've actually had 2 incidences of people that came within the group, had some financial challenges from loans that they are taking. But we put in structures to make sure that they pay the money, because we even have a rule where if you don't pay the money, we'll post you on social media, we'll disgrace you, we'll do whatever we have to do. So yes, there are certain critical measures in the group to guard against certain things. But a lot of people have good intentions. So just like the person asking the question, if you're business minded and you think that you want to access business loans, but you don't have it, speak to your other friends, even the people on this call. I think there's an ICAG page. Ask people, you know what, I want to start a group where we are building an investment community. Who wants to join? It's just 100 cedis a month. It starts with 100 cedis a month. As time goes on, start with 200 cedis. Check on the people, get them to pay. It's a little bit of a lot of work. But at the end of the day, would you rather take a loan from a bank at 40%? Or would you build an investment community in 2 or 3 years and get a loan at 10% or 12%? So it depends on you and what you want to do. The other thing I want to talk about is in terms of the consistency. So remember that I talked about mindset in the beginning. You also make sure that whatever thing that you want to do, you surround yourself with people with similar mindset. And again, that also starts from within. When I started my group, I actually started my group from Facebook because I am a bit popular on Facebook. So I started from Facebook. I added my family, my brother, my cousins, and all of those people. And I said, we are raising this fund. And just think about it like you are saving for yourself. So again, remember the goal setting. Let's assume someone on this call has a goal. I want to have 10,000 by the end of this year. I want to have 10,000 by the end of next year. You divide the 10,000 by the number of months you want to have it. So you say that if I want to have 10,000 in 24 months, I have to do 500 a month, or I have to do 600 a month. Now the 600 a month, I don't want to touch it. So I want to be in a group. You open a group account, multiple signatories, all of those things. People should be tracking. We have an online sheet that is displayed for everyone to see most times, so that everyone sees who is not being consistent, and you check on the person. Why are you not being consistent? Are you having problems, or you've just become lazy, or you just become excuses? So we need to look out for each other. Finances, you can go alone and still make it, but you normally make it if you are together. And I think I forgot to mention accountability partner. Everybody should have an accountability partner. So you first build from your accountability partner, you build amongst your friends. So the question still stands. If you don't have 5 people you can trust, and you don't have 5 people who can trust you, you are the problem, and you should start investigating from yourself. yes, regulation and government rules are there. But let's not just be part of the, excuse me to say, the goats that we have to beat before they follow rules. Let's start within ourselves saying that even if I want to do something and there is no regulation, I'm just starting with my family members, or I'm just starting with a few friends. Even without regulation, can we stick with the rules, right? Let's not let everything be, it has to be regulated, it has to be legalized, because that is part of the reason why we are where we are. And if you read the story of Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and all of those people, they started the business. Mark Zuckerberg started from his dorm room. So it's like being in Legon at Ivandi or at Commonwealth, and then saying that you are in your room, you found this business idea you want to do. They went and told their parents about it. They got financing for it. They started operating it. And now it is what it is. So a lot of things will start small. But if you don't start from where you are and you think that it will just scale immediately, it's not going to happen. So we need to work on that mindset direction as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Just to say that I believe from where you started, the individual personal savings habit leads to a group savings habit. So individually, personal finance, if it's not good, don't look at group finance. So we start from somewhere, like she said. If individually we ask about 10,000 Ghana cedi, if you can borrow somebody today, but look at the number of people who were able to raise up their hand that they can get 10,000 today for a colleague or somebody who is in difficulty. It means that your personal finance is in danger. And that is something questionable that we need to try and resolve.
Okay, any other question? I think, Madam, somebody was asking whether the crowdfunding is the same as the credit union.
It has the same structure, but it's not the same. So with the credit union, you see, normally the credit union comes with rules like a savings and advances company. But with the credit union, you are not necessarily doing a personal savings per se. But with the investment community, it's like a personal thing where you can even come and then withdraw all of your money out of it. And the rates are also determined by like consensus. Normally, credit union, they have like executives and all of those who determine certain, but with the investment communities are more transparent and more democratized than that one. So the credit unions are also good if you are part of those ones, but you may consider one that you have more control over. And that one is where the investment communities then come in.
Oh, okay. Okay, another question. Say that, please, you made mention of capacity building. Is Ghana Stock Exchange relevant? Or am I not getting the question right? Yeah. Is Ghana Stock Exchange still relevant?
Yeah, I think let's get the
asking.
question right. Is the
Yeah.
person asking whether it's relevant in terms of capacity building, and is it capacity building of finance stuff, or in terms of getting financing? What relevance is the person asking about?
Okay, so Matthew, please, you can unmute and talk and speak.
All right, thank you so much for the opportunity given. Madam, please, I think when you were presenting, you made mention of having a good financial literacy, which I also share. That's opinion. But again, as accountants and chartered tax experts, we also would want to expand our tentacles to other relevant areas like the investment and other area. And I know Ghana Stock Exchange has some kind of training for people like us. And I want to know whether their service provision is relevant to the issue we are discussing this evening. Thank you.
Okay. I get you now, Matthew. Okay. So yes, the Ghana Stock Exchange is still relevant. The Ghana Stock Exchange has courses on investment and all of that you can explore. But there's also another institution called Ghana Institute of Securities and Investment, GC. Okay. That's also one of the new investment bodies that the government is setting up. I don't think it's completely done, but I think they are setting it up. So you can have courses with them. But on a simple note, what I would say is do a lot of research online. We are in an age where there is so much information online. Like there is so much information online that you can go and try to find out, if I want to invest in item A, how do I go about it? And I think Doc spoke about stocks and shares, right? I am in Ghana now, but I actually have an investment with JP Morgan Bank in the US, because on my group, there are a lot of Ghanaians. There's only one foreigner on my group. Out of the 230 people, there are about 15 of them are in the US, some are in the UK. So they are based there. They use their apps over there to invest there for me. And it was because I got the knowledge from them. So you can get knowledge from, let's say, within the communities that you are in. First of all, you can get information from online about what you want to invest in. And then you can take the certificated courses, like the courses that the Ghana Stock Exchange, I think ICAG also has some courses that you can take. You can also take courses with, say, let's say PwC, we do trainings for various courses and all of that. So you can take some of those courses as well. But just do a slide research. So you can even set for yourself and say, every quarter or every month or every, sorry. I think someone was talking.
Yes. There's another question, but I wanted you to finish answering.
Okay. Yes, so you can do a lot of research online, but you can also do certificated courses with either any of the big four firms, PwC, Deloitte, all of those people have courses as well. But do a lot of the research on. And lastly, talk to a financial advisor. One of the things that a lot of people refuse to do is to pay for a financial advisor. So for instance, if you come to me, Jennifer, and I say, I want to do an investment strategy for you, but I want us to discuss your goals and your investment strategy and all of that. Do your budget and see where you can invest. And so pay 100 or 150 or 200 or even 300 or 500 for an hour so that we discuss. A lot of people don't want to invest in financial education, and it's also a problem. So let's look at investing also in our financial education, that every year I want to take just one class with a financial advisor and budget for it. Okay, that should also be part. Yeah, thank you. We can take the next question.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Madam.
Robert's hand is up. So Robert, you can unmute and talk.
Thank you so very much. It's really good to be a part of tonight's discussion. It's been so wonderful. Thank you. Madam Jennifer, I am just going to ask, I think you spoke about insurance, but you didn't go in depth into it. I wouldn't know if you can just throw a little bit of light in that area. And besides that, can you please, I wouldn't know if I can get your number, not to keep the whole group waiting for too long. I just want to understand the investment community stuff. And if I could join yours or even start up something, I really want to start something. I actually done one or two things like that, but like you rightly said, quite a number of things came up. I need to learn quite a number of things from you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Robert. So my investment community is currently closed. What I'm doing, I'm taking a break. One of the things that we just started recently was to do a real estate trust. So we are starting on our real estate businesses. Yesterday, I was actually in Koforidua to see a couple of lands. So we are taking a break from active members. So we are no longer admitting members. But I guide people to form the same type of investment community. So we can talk later. I think Akins has my number, so he can share it. So we can have a conversation on that later. But if anybody wants to form one, we can have a conversation on that. You can set up a call with me, and then I would let you know what happens on that. But I want to also quickly add, I think somebody asked, what is the investment? So the Bank of Ghana does not have any regulation on investment communities. So it is not like we've registered an investment community. No, remember that these are my own friends and my own family members that I am keeping their monies for based on my past record of what I do, So you can also form within your own friends. There is no regulation on that currently, on investment communities. But if you want to do it, just start. I mean, for some of these things, yes, regulation may come later, like the crypto and all of those things. Regulation came. Now they are trying to do regulation after a couple of problems came up. But a lot of these things start, whether from America or wherever, and then eventually they catch up on the regulation. Doc talked about Petra, the Achiever. When Petra started Achiever, they had not really completed the regulation, but as time goes on, Petra has been able to get them to do the regulation. Remember, and then there's also an app called IC Wealth as well. There's also CD Manager, which you can also download and use. So all those apps are now running virtual investments and savings, and now the regulations are coming. But for me, start. You don't, if within your community, within your friends, just start. It doesn't have to be regulated before you start. So I think Akins will share my number, and then for those who want to form their own. But unfortunately, mine is closed for now, so I'm not admitting any new members.
Madam, let me quickly share that. I think that you keep on emphasizing on one important thing: knowing your circles.
Yeah.
Nobody will part money to you if he doesn't know your circles.
Yeah.
So once you know your circles, then the trust level, about 70% of trust, 80% of trust is assured. So please, as you are running to Madam Jennifer, ask yourself, it is this CPD that has given us opportunity for us to connect. But are you saying that within your circles, you cannot? That is why she posed certain questions. That if you need money now, can you get 5 or 10 people who you can really rely on? If you cannot do that, then you are not also building your social capital. So please, I like the fact that you said it has been closed. It calls for an action that outside his or hers, can you also build a circle and begin something? The beginning matters. Once you begin and you set up structures very well, I think that the sources will be chopped like he has been able to chop her sources.
Okay.
Thank you, Doc.
I think this question was the same thing that Madam Jennifer has answered. He was asking whether your community is still open and whether there's any modality for joining. So that question has been answered already. Then there's another one. Please let us know how anybody can join. Oh, okay, everybody is asking. What is BOG's regulations on it? That one too has been answered. Then Black Star Group allows investing in foreign shares. Okay, I don't know about that. I don't know whether Madam Jennifer can throw light on this or.
Yes. So quickly, let me say some. Let me issue a disclaimer before I say what I want to say about Black Star Group. So when you join calls like this, yes, people are investing on their own, so they have certain types of knowledge, but please don't do your investing based on generalized advice, right? So yes, Black Star Group actually does investing because Black Star Group is a broker. So they do investing in the shares and the foreign shares. There are apps like Bamboo app and all of those things. But don't say that because Jennifer came on the call and said, oh, Black Star Group works, oh, Bamboo works, so immediately go put your money on that. Please don't do that. Again, make sure you get some personalized advice. Make sure that you have sat down with somebody, you have done your goals, and the personal advisor is telling you that, okay, where you have gotten to in life, you can start investing in shares. Shares is one of the riskiest things to invest in if you start investing. So for me, if let's say you don't have, and I thought if you don't have, let's say 100,000 in T-bills alone or 200,000, don't attempt shares. You may lose your money, right? But if your risk appetite is high and you say, oh, I still want to go and do it, then I can leave you to go and do that. But make sure you get advice. Don't jump on board certain types of advice in group calls like this. So yeah, Black Star Group does allow investing in foreign shares, but please get advice before you enter that. I think one person asked a question and I forgot. I wanted to address it. So insurance. Somebody wanted me to touch on insurance. I don't think we have a lot of time on the call to address insurance because it's a whole lesson on its own. Okay. But what I want you to know about insurance is that insurance basically says that if something happens to you based on what you have insured, I'm going to pay you a certain amount of money. So let me give you a quick example. Let's say you have done a whole life benefit insurance, which covers if you should have an accident today and you cannot work. If let's say you have a debilitating illness like cancer and you cannot work. Let's say you die. Let's say your parent or your child dies, we'll pay you this amount of money. And Vanguard has one of those policies. So I think their current policy, one of them is around 120,000. They've divided it into about 4. So let's say if your parent dies, they'll give you 10,000 or 20,000 to do the funeral for free, things like that. And you pay 40 cedis a month or so. Now, if you calculate, it will take you, let's say, to get all the 120,000, it may take you years to save 40 cedis a month and actually get 120,000. So you can say that I would rather invest because definitely everybody will die. So maybe your parents are old, so you rather do that. So insurance is just saying I'm paying a certain amount of money now. If the item I have insured happens, then I'll get a benefit. It's the same with health insurance. So if you have health insurance, they will tell you that you pay a certain amount of money every month. If you should go to the hospital or if your wife goes to the hospital, your children will pay for this amount of money for you. That's basically what insurance is about. So depending on your age, for example, depending on your personal priorities, depending on what you are looking for in life, depending on, let's say, even the age of your parents, and you realize that, oh, maybe my parents are getting old. If God forbid they die right now, I don't have the money. So why don't I do a funeral policy for them? So that if God forbid they die, I'll have enough money to have a funeral without touching my savings. So it really depends on you. When you want to invest in an insurance, again, two things. You can talk to a personal advisor or an insurance broker. So you can, again, just go online and search insurance brokers in Ghana and find the insurance brokers and talk to them and tell them that this is what I'm looking for. But insurance is one of the ways that you can actually make a lot of money, especially if you've done life insurance on somebody and the person dies. They would actually do a payout for you and you will get a lot of money. Yeah. So that's it on the insurance. I think the last question I see is on strategies for discipline and consistency. So this is one of the difficult ones. Because everybody is an adult, as a personal advisor, a financial advisor, I definitely can't come to your house and beat you to be consistent. I cannot force you to be consistent. So a lot of consistency comes from a personal resolve, right? And it also comes from, again, you budgeting. So if, for example, you've decided that as a person, I've decided I will save or invest 500 cedis every month in T-bills. As soon as your salary comes, as a disciplined person, the first money you move out of your account into T-bills should be the 500 cedis. Don't be sitting there and waiting and saying, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. Something will come up and you spend the money. So it is building slow steps, okay? Just build the slow steps. Just do a personal resolve. And the most important thing, get an accountability partner. Even if that accountability partner is your wife, right? Or your siblings or your children, or even in the extreme cases, you can put on the ICAG group and say, please, I need an accountability partner. Every month I say I want to save. So on the 30th of the month, somebody should check on me. Somebody should check on me. And sometimes it works because then a lot of people will start shouting at you that, have you done your savings or not? So whatever will work, you have to use it. But discipline and consistency comes from within. And within communities like ours, we normally check on the person to see what is happening or why you haven't sent your money and all of those things. So please work on that one from an internal point of view. Okay.
Yeah. Let me just share an experience, please.
Yes.
Yeah. With respect to the discipline and consistency, I'm married with a wife. Again, we decided that we are not putting our resources together, like our incomes, but on a monthly basis, how much can we put in a common account? And I tell you that once we started that, like she shared earlier, that you are one person that can never withdraw. So that is where he is talking about somebody ensuring accountability, because you cannot withdraw alone and you have set that money for a particular purpose distinct from all that you do. You can't touch it. That is where you develop the saving habits. So it's the savings habit that we culminated after some number of years that let's now not put the money just down. Let's put it in treasury and roll it. Why is the contribution continue? And I'm telling you, with this discipline and consistency, if I tell you the amount that is in the account now, you'll be surprised. But how much did we start with? 200, 500 Ghana cedi. But now it's a whole lot of money. So I want to share with you that you can open a joint account with somebody you can trust, where one person is not a signatory to the account. That will help you to be disciplined and you'll be consistent. If you can do a standing order from your bank account to that account, or any other means where you work together and every month you ensure that the person will come for the money or you go for the money and you deposit and you put this paying slip down. It is a conscious decision that you have to take. And in fact, think about your future and cultivate the discipline that you require to ensure consistency. Then, madam, because we talk about insurance, let me quickly distinguish, please. You see, the concept of insurance must be differentiated from investment. In fact, insurance is good, but it's just to protect you against unforeseen circumstances. So for me, in a class that I have been handling, I always tell them that insurance is not an investment, but it's a necessary evil. Because investment, as we have talked about today, is about you growing your money. So when you pay money into an insurance, you are not growing. And that is why some of the insurance companies, they have come out with what they call cashback and those kind of things, just to motivate people that they are doing some investment for them. It is never true. It is just a motivating factor. But for unforeseen circumstances, you cannot do without insurance. So guide yourself against unforeseen circumstances, but grow your money through investments, like the various types of investment that we have shared, because money must be grown. If you don't grow money, you will not get money. That is the little I want to add to what Madam said.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Any other question? Okay, okay. Okay, so I think if there's no question now, it's almost 8:30, 8:29, so maybe we can bring the section to an end. Okay, so there's no question. So, Madam Jennifer, we want to thank you for this insightful presentation and training on investment. And in fact, I'll be disturbing you a lot on investment advice. And Dr. Boadi, God bless you too for your insightful presentation. Now you've given us a form of knowledge that we never knew, and we are now going to put them to use. So God bless you. Okay. So if there is no any other question, then we can end the meeting now.
Okay, so let me just share that this is just one of the CPDs Koforidua District Society have organized, but it's going to be a monthly ritual. So continue to stay tuned. When we share, you can continue to join us for us all to build a very successful competency for our future. We want to thank those who are not part of the Koforidua District
and let me
Society.
quickly announce I think Professor actually just confirmed he's coming, the CPD on the AI for the impact of AI for accountants. So that one will also be happening on the 25th of August. So
Great.
let's take note of that and book our calendars.
Great.
Okay. So thank you very much, and God bless you all. And thank you all for joining. I think today we had a lot of people joining, over 80 people joining this CPD, and it is very insightful. So God bless you all for joining, and thank you everyone here.
Thank you too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.